So, where do we see ourselves as a country in the future? Are we going to finally be able to progress as a people without consistently fighting over race, religion, classes, and things of that nature? Will we be able to just, as a society, grow and not consistently focus on smaller issues like that? Um, Although they're not necessarily small issues, they are issues that really should not mean as much as they do nowadays, especially when in the year 2020. Um, so I'm sure you've all heard about the news recently about the George Floyd situation and all the controversy that it's caused, as well as all of the looting and the rioting that it's caused within the major cities in our country. And it's unfortunately pushed our country into almost a point of no return, pretty much. So today I'll be talking about the problem of looting in our communities, and how it's really not going to be the way to solve any issues, and how protesting it, legally can actually be much more effective in actually enacting change. In my presentation, I will be discussing the current problem of looting that has taken over the country, and then I will be talking about the actual situation itself with George Floyd that caused the current issue of looting and rioting in the streets. And I'll finally end with talking about how we can actually initiate real change through protesting and actual grassroots campaigning to actually improve the country and just make the country a better place to live. Um, so at this very moment, there is a whole set of curfews currently being enacted due to the looting and rioting that's currently going around in the major cities. We're unfortunately destroying our communities, and that in itself is not really going to do anything for us and our end goals, which is to really improve our relations with the police and end police brutality in general. Um, According to the LA Times, there were hundreds who gathered Saturday at Pan Pacific Park and later marched west and north. Parts of the crowd rampaged through the Grove Shopping Center before moving toward West Hollywood. The demonstrators faced off with police, who responded in some cases by firing rubber bullets as police helicopters hovered overhead. Protesters defaced or destroyed about a dozen squad cars and demanded once again that the nation turn a corner on systematic racism. Now, the destruction and the terrorization of our communities has continued for the past several days, and it's pretty clear now that that in itself is really not conducive to our end goal, which is to end police brutality. And the further destruction of our communities will only hurt us because we're destroying our own communities instead of actually building them up. Um, According to NBC Los Angeles, several police vehicles were set on fire, sending plumes of black smoke over the area. Messages were written in spray paint on police cars, at least two of which had windows smashed out. So, I mean, we're not really, in essence, promoting change. Instead, we're promoting the destruction, and the anger that we have inside of us is really not being channeled the right way. So now that you know about the issue of looting and destruction taking over major cities, let me talk about the causes of these actual problems going on. So sadly, over the past couple of years, there's been more prominent occurrences of police brutality, specifically with regards to the African American population, and it's been quite sad to see over the past couple of years. And it's become more prominent with the use of phones and people being able to record and document these events and unfortunate situations. So in essence, the past couple of days, the issue with George Floyd, who was unfortunately killed and murdered by a police officer. He was asphyxiated by the officer, and um, after that happened, now the officer's been charged along with the other officers there with murder, which of course, justice is being served. But with that being said, the issue at hand is still the destruction that is occurring, and this unfortunate event has caused the continued looting and rioting going on within the city, even in Milwaukee itself. So, according to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, some people don't think about consequences or messages or solutions. Took Instead, they took advantage of the situation. They looted underprivileged areas, going after their mostly small businesses in their own communities. They hurt their own. And according to The Guardian, the situation is no longer about George Floyd, he said. It is about attacking civil society, instilling fear and attacking over a great city. And again, this is again showing that we are not really helping the situation. Instead, we're making things worse by continuing to destroy the cities. So now that you know about the issues of police brutality at hand and its effect on the relation between the police and the public, let me explain some of the ways that we can actually combat these issues instead by going ahead and enacting, different ways of going about solving these problems that we're currently having. So, a way that we can solve the issue at hand is through legally protesting, grassroots campaigning, and talking to your local people in your community and gathering with each other and promoting your own ideals and pushing forth for change, but legally, and instead of destroying your own community. It's better to do it legally. So, as seen, legally protesting can be more effective than looting. Where looting does not aid to resolve any issues of social unrest. Instead, it amplifies it. So, in summary, in my presentation, I spoke about the current issues of looting around American cities. Then I talked about the events of George Floyd and how it's caused looting. And finally, I've talked about how grassroots campaigning and protesting legally can solve these issues. So after having seen the effects that looting has on the community, it is clear to see that it does not help to improve community. Instead, looting does the opposite. It destroys community. So, and it's a form of suppression, whether it be deliberate. It does not implore change like we want it to. So, how will you leave your mark on the world? Thank you.